Okay, I do more or less once a year low budget reviews. I'm director, because normally when you submit to the fund, it takes 1 year, 2 years, and some people just don't have the patience. And they say, okay, let's go to small. So I go to small funds, get some small money, like short films fund, drama funds, and with those little money we do the film, television money. So how to approach it? Basically, if you look at film at the cost, the first thing which is kind of telling us what will be the cost of the film is the script. So you cannot shoot any script with low budget. You have to have a script which fits low budget. If you have a periodical piece with action adventure and thousands of extras, I don't think you can do it low budget. It will be very difficult. So you have to write something which is for low budget film. So it means not so many characters, not so many locations. Before the digital era, I would say not so many night shoots, but now who cares? You can shoot at night with digital cameras with almost no lighting. So basically, you are very lucky because you're at the beginning of the big change, the digital change, which allows us to do films very cheaply. You can actually shoot it with iPhone. You can shoot it if you really want to shoot a little bit better. You can shoot with Canon D60, with Panasonic GH2, with Sony Nex7. All those cameras are around $1,000. You put simple lens in front of it, probably preferably manual, but not must a manual lens, and you shoot. And manual lenses cost nothing. So it's practically quite easy on the equipment side. And the equipment, you can push it, you can push a lot of ASA, you can get a lot of quite good results with those cameras. Of course, it's not Alexa, it's not Red, but quite good. Just to give you an example, this year the winner of Cannes was shot with low budget and was shot with Canon C300, which is not a very expensive camera. And I believe even in rental houses, it's about $13,000. And it shoots on MPEG 2, so you don't have to transfer, you just go straight to editing to having. The material is compressed anyway, so you don't have so many materials, it's 50 megabits per second, you just go straight to editing. There are a lot of choices. Sony F3, the prices are really ridiculous for the used ones. Since Sony came up with new cameras, you can buy used one for $5,000, $6,000. So the prices are really, really going down all the time on the equipment. Also lighting equipment, if you don't want a very well done with proper color lighting and you buy Chinese lights which are not so accurate, you can get them very cheaply. So basically the equipment problem is kind of behind us when you want to shoot a film. The other problem, and I said not so many locations because you don't want to move a lot. Although with the light equipment it's easy to move. You can do 3-4 locations a day. You don't have a truck behind you, put it in everything and move it. And you work with small cars, you move faster, much faster. The lighting is light, and the camera is light, you move fast. You do it with 1 minibus, you can make a film, like the old days of Godard. Godard said once that whatever doesn't go into a minibus, he doesn't want in a film. So we never had more than 7 people. And the actors were making makeup by themselves, and it's not a big deal. So you have these possibilities. Once the script is right, there's no big problems with finding proper equipment, cheap equipment. Then you have salaries, which is normally quite a lot in films. 40 to 50% of the money at least goes to crew and actors. I don't know how it's here, but in Israel there's a lot of unemployment between actors and crew members, especially actors. So it's very easy to get actors for free, or deferral, so you pay them later when the film comes out, or kind of things like that. So actors, I don't know how it's here, if you have a lot of actors who want to act and they don't have a chance because it's all over the world, there are 90% of actors unemployed. You can find right actors if you look for them. You can find people who will act in your film for free or almost free. Crew, the younger you are, the better it is because you study together, you know guy with a DOP in your class, you know someone who can do, I don't know, drink or whatever, and you organize, like a short film, basically, when you're doing your films for the academy, I suppose, you organize in groups and you work. So it's the same system, basically. Just bring people who are young, who are eager to work, and they don't mind working, and they're ready to go for the adventure. So basically what you have to pay for is food, which is not such a big expense. And post-production, of course, which is again very simplified today, because as you know, probably part of you have illegal edit at home, and illegal nuke or illegal whatever, Adobe, and everybody knows how to operate it. So I would say legal but cheap. It's all over, everybody has it. So it becomes really simplified. So you're on the lucky side, you can do films with almost no money. And the final stage of post-production, yes, sound is a bit of a problem. You need a good soundman, and many students don't know how to make sound. And I never take advantage of a low-budget film without a good soundman, because sound, we tend not to think about sound, but it's very important. I wouldn't say it's 50% of the film, but it's very important. So the dialogues properly recorded, and the proper post-production sound, atmospheres, sound effects, it's important. Don't drop it, don't say, okay, I don't care, I'll do it after. You need a good sound person on set with proper equipment. But again, also in sound equipment, in small budget films you can manage with very small little equipment. If you don't have many characters, you can use a small mixer with a small recorder, things that cost $1,000, $500, you can manage. With a proper person, with one or two good microphones, you can manage. So it's quite easy. There are not enough sound editors in my country, I don't know here, who know the job, so it's something that normally costs even in low budget films you have to find. But there are more and more young people who open shops, musicians, who have the equipment and who want to try out. So it's worthwhile when you do a low budget film to find someone like that and say, okay, let's work. If it works, fine. If it doesn't, we go to somebody else. Because there are a lot of musicians who have the same equipment, basically. And they are ready to experiment and they are ready to do the work just to learn how to do it. So basically the world is open in a strange way. It's much more open. When I finished film school, I made a 15-minute film that costed more than your features. I had to buy a negative, and I went at the time, there was a guy who made a low budget film. I said, how do you make a film? He said, you need money for negative and laboratory, the rest you manage. So you don't need money for laboratory and film, you can manage. Even in possible, I don't know how it's here, but in Israel the cinemas are all digitized right now. We screen only digital copies.
Unfortunately not yet.
So
it's very rare to have a digital cinema still.
This is the problem, because until 2 years ago there was this problem of moving from digital to film copy, which costed, color correction and transferring the digital data into film was quite costly. Not huge, but quite costly. But on the other hand, what happens now in the labs all over the world, they are all going pro. So it's very easy to get a very, very good deal on this job. You have to break expectations, you have to be different. Any other questions? Come on!
Postavite pitanje, nemojte da se stidite. Čovjek mi je raspolaganju. Jer ima nešto da nismo razumeli?
I have a question. Can young authors from out of your country get in touch with you?
Sorry?
Can we get in touch with you, not just young authors from your country?
Yes, but I can give you my details and so on, it's no problem, but the possibility for me to produce your film is very, very little. It's very, very little, because normally all the small countries try to support their own filmmakers because of the budgets and so on and so on. So it's very difficult, but yes, I can give you my details, no problem. I can advise, but it will be very difficult for me to find money in Israel for certain films, for example. Maybe in co-production, maybe, but it will be very marginal. But no problem, yes. Don't be shy. It's so boring what I said, you have no questions?
Sorry, I think that you partially answered that question, but how much do you depend on government funds rather than commercial, and how commercially can you get?
Okay. First of all, small countries have to support their culture if they want it. They have to support it. It's not a favor. We have to get the money, remember. They don't do you a favor. They have to support culture if they want it. I repeat it. They have to. Don't feel that they are doing you a favor. No favors. The politicians should pay for the culture. Okay? In Israel, the subsidy is about, I would say, if you look at the general production, we have about 20 films done a year. I would say that all of them have some kind of money of the funds. I would say on average about 40-50% of the money comes from the funds, about 20 to 30% comes from the co-production, about 20 to 30% comes from television. About, I would say, how one distribution company puts. He puts about 10-15% comes from distribution money. So it depends. Sometimes we have more distribution money, less co-production. Sometimes we have more funds. Of course, the distribution money goes to the more commercial films. Because distributors, their job is to make money. So if they put money, they try to put money into things that they believe will be commercial. Because if you do, if you look at Israeli production, I would say that out of 25, 8 are commercial driven, but only 2 of them are successful. It's not enough to want to make commercial films. It's not necessary to become commercial. Some so-called commercial films are total failure. Some are very successful, and it's very difficult to predict. The only way to predict it is the previous performance of the director. If the director made 2 or 3 or 4 hits with 200,000 admissions, he'll probably make another one. So there is the main thing, but also the films which are so-called commercial get subsidies from the state, but they are higher budget films because there's no money from television and from distribution coming into those films. Those films who are expected to be commercial, like comedies, like many comedies, will get more money from television and will get more money from distribution. But it not necessarily means that they'll be more successful. You have 2 ways basically in small countries, okay? One is to do something which is more for the local audience. The problem with the local films, I don't know how it's in Serbia, but in Israel, that the young audience, how many of you have seen Serbian films? Where you were in high school?
How many films per?
No, how many of you, when you were in high school, saw Serbian films in cinema? Good, very good. If I ask this question in Israel to a class, I'll have maybe 2 people. The young audience doesn't go to Israeli cinema, except some comedies.
Why is that?
They see American films.
Uh-huh.
So it is very difficult to bring young audience. So only comedies and stuff like that can maybe bring some audience with stars and so on. The art house cinema doesn't bring young audience. It goes to people who are 30 years older. So the budgets are lower. In order to succeed in art house cinema in small countries, you have to have success from outside. Okay? I'm sure it's the same in Serbia. If your film was in Cannes and got a prize, you go to cinemas, people want to see it because we are all provincial, and they say, wow, if the French thought it's a great film, I have to see it. But if you don't have a success in kind of international success, festivals, critics in New York Times, blah, 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 the film dies, if it's art house film. So there's, I call it from outside in. You quote, Le Monde wrote this, New York Times wrote this, we got a prize in Locarno, we had a prize in Sundance. It's interesting, I have to see it, I'm proud. I'm Serbian, we got all those prizes, I want to see this film. And the other way is the commercial films. If you have an art house film who doesn't do strong festivals and so on, it would be very difficult for the film to survive the regular cinema release. And we have a lot of films which have 5,000-10,000 spectators. Basically, from out of 25 films, I would say half of them are between 5 and 10,000. Then there is a group of, I would say, maybe 8 films which are doing somewhere between 10 and 30. And there are 4 films or 5 films which are doing more than 50,000 or 200,000 spectators. That's the way. And it's perfectly normal. Again, it is normal to fail in our profession. It is perfectly normal. Nothing to be ashamed of. If you have 1 out of 4, if even in America, if 1 out of 4 of the films you made is successful, wow, you are a genius. 1 out of 4 as a producer. So, it's okay. 1 out of 8 is average, not bad.